time we got together, I think 2 years ago, I was out in Seattle. Anybody remember out there in Seattle? I introduced a friend of mine to you by the name of John Tester. And I said to you this, and I promised you then, I said this, I don't know where you get the other 5 senators to get to 50, but I'm going to promise you this, if you write a check right now for John Tester, I'll promise you some way in Montana, I'll get the 51st senator for you. Remember that promise? Well, I'm back to tell you, we got it done. We got it done. Civilized over there in Minnesota. We did a little different. There were only 2 doors in. And after I got done introducing him, you know, Tester's bigger than me. After I got done introducing him, I said to the folks, remember this? I said, well, John's going to stand by that door, and I'm going to stand by this door, and there ain't nobody leaving until you write a check. That's the way you fundraise in this country. Hard in a place like Montana. Just so you know, Bill Clinton got 38.5%, first time out, 41 when he ran for re-election. Then Al Gore got 32%. Kerry got 38.5%. So Montana's a tough country. There's no room for error in Montana. And we knew that the weight of the world was on us in Montana. And so we were prepared. And the advantage is, you know, when you got a governor of a state on your side, oh, you can turn some dollars, and we did. For example, in Montana, 7% of the population are Indian. 7% of the folks in Montana have lived there for 10,000 years and beyond. 400 generations of history in Montana. And when they vote for Democrats. So we wanted to make sure they voted. We did all of our homework, and we made sure that they were all registered to vote. We made sure they were going to show up on election day. And we anticipated some of the shenanigans from the smoothies back east. So I called the tribal chairs 2 weeks in advance, and I said to them, there's liable to be some sons of bitches. Like that. Maybe something wrong. They're going to show up and they're going to stand out in front of the polling place and they're going to ask people if they've got proof that they paid their electric bill. They're going to tell them that if you go in and vote and you've got any kind of a warrant out for you, if you're not exactly sure whether you've got your driver's license completely legal. And so we didn't want that baloney to go on. So at 8:30, at every polling place on every tribal nation in Montana, there, sure enough, were guys with brand new Carhartt jackets standing out there and smoothed up kind of shoes that came from someplace else. They weren't boots, and there was no cow shit on them. And they were the only white guys with 50 miles around. And they started in on their baloney, and in every case, the tribal police showed up, lights going, siren on. They walked right up to them and they asked them for some identification. Well, they reached in the pocket, showed them their driver's license. You know, they come from Rhode Island or Texas or some damn place. And then they said to them, people matching your description have been reported as having stolen a pickup about 30 miles. We only have one jail here. We don't have a phone here. We've already got 11 people in it. We got 5 bucks. Sometimes it takes 2-3 days to get these things worked out. So you can either come with us in the back seat of our car, or you can both get in the front seat of your car, and we'll lead you off this reservation, and if we never see you again, you won't go to jail. We didn't lose one single vote either. I was confident that we were going to win this election, and I told you it was going to be pretty easy if you wrote a check. It wasn't pretty easy, and I wasn't that confident, and it took a little extra work. I'll tell you how this thing works. So we start out early. John Tester's ahead by about 8-9 points because all the cities are coming in early. And then about 11 o'clock, midnight, he's up by 1 point. And then it's 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and it's up or down just a little bit, and votes are still coming in. And now it's 3:30 in the morning, and there's only 3 places where the votes aren't in. And so I said, well, what's out there? So, well, there's only 3 precincts left in Billings. So I did the calculus real quick, and that meant he could lose that by 0.5%, something like that. He was about pushing in all the other precincts. Then there's Marr County. Well, the bad news is almost everybody in Marr County are going to vote against him. The good news is only 491 votes in Marr County. So we wrote that one off. And then I said, where else? And I swear to God, I made the sign of the cross, said a little prayer, and they said, well, it's Butte, Silver Bowl. We still have 7 precincts out. Well, for those of you who don't know the history of Butte, that's the birthplace of the American labor movement. That's a mining city. That's a place where everybody's gathered. Everybody is in. I knew I could feel it. So I called up the courthouse in Silver Bowl and I talked to the clerk. And you can imagine, the governor's on the phone. The whole world's waiting for your votes to come in. So she gets to the phone. She's out of breath. She sounds nervous as a pregnant nun. And right away, she starts saying, well, Brian, we're going to have this in, I think, 15 minutes. I said, no, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I tell you what, I'll call you back when you're done. And she said, no, I'm sure we can be done in the next 15 minutes. And I said, I want you to listen. I want you to listen close. I'll call you when you're done counting. Now do you understand it? And she's from Butte. She understood exactly what that meant. So we counted up the rest of the votes that we had out there. I tell you, I knew that we had won it. But I didn't want the press to say it's so close in Montana that we're going to have a recount. Because 48 out of 56 counties in Montana are run 100% by the Republican Party. So if ever anybody says, well, we think it's tied, we got to do a recount, we got this, we got that, we were sunk. We were going to have another Florida or some other third world country. So, waited, and we released it right at 8:15. And then I called the Associated Press, and he's up by 2,200 votes. I called the Associated Press, and I said, all right, it's time for you to call the race. I've done the math. Everything's in. There's nothing else to count. You asked me what's going to be important in this election. They didn't want to get it wrong because they knew the whole world was watching. And they said, oh, geez, we can't call it because, it could be this, recount, less than %, I don't know. And I said to him, look, let me tell you something. If you're not willing to do your job, I'll do it for you. I've just called a press conference and you're invited at 10 o'clock this morning, and I'm going to stand next to the next United States Senator, and I'm going to introduce him to the world because you're not doing your job. And I heard. So we called a press conference. We had TV cameras there. We had all the press there. And 2 minutes before the press conference, everybody's BlackBerry started buzzing. The Associated Press in Montana has just called the race for John Tester.